Toronto's homelessness crisis is spiraling out of control, and the numbers are staggering, even though funding to counteract it has doubled. So what's going on here? Let's dig in. The City of Toronto's 2024 street needs assessment just dropped, and brace yourselves because homelessness has doubled since 2021. We're talking 15,400 people stranded on the streets last fall, up from 7,300 in 2021. And yet, in a sick twist, the city's budget to end homelessness had already doubled. According to Housing TO 2020 to 2030 Action Plan, funding has ballooned from $180.5 million in 2019 to a jaw-dropping $365.3 million. So where's all the money going? Because the data from the street needs assessment is disturbing, and no one seems to be questioning the root cause of the issue. It's important to point out here that a staggering 71% of those staying in city-run places like transitional housing, supportive housing, hotels, or emergency shelters are immigrants, including those seeking asylum. That is a massive leap from just 13% in 2021. Another notable difference between these reports. In 2024, the second leading reason listed for homelessness was left the community / relocated at 31%, but there's no immigration section. But in 2021, there was an immigration issues / recently arrived in Canada section, and that accounted for only 2%, while the section left the community / relocated sat at 5%. That's a combined 7% versus the absolute jump to 31% for these demographics last year, which directly coincides with the feds opening up the mass migration floodgates. Meanwhile, the report also found that Indigenous people, who make up only 3% of the city's population, account for 9% of those facing homelessness. And the Black community, only 10% of Toronto, represents a staggering 58% of those without shelter. Many are grappling with mental health struggles, chronic illnesses, and/or substance abuse disorders. And yet this increasingly funded system is not only failing those it's meant to support, but also the broader communities that have to deal with the fallout and the public disorder that comes as a result. Last year, the Ombudsman's report laid it bare. Shelters were so overwhelmed that the city had to turn away refugee and asylum seekers. The result? Well, they were slapped with a proposed class action lawsuit, slamming them for this grotesque mismanagement. But again, no one is talking about the astonishing numbers of immigrants flooding into Ontario and especially Toronto. Official government data shows that Ontario processed a mind-blowing 14,914 asylum claims in just the first 4 months of this year through Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, leaving Quebec's 5,960 in the dust. Add in the Canadian Border Security Agency's numbers, and Ontario saw 18,420 claimants pour in, compared to Quebec's 13,890. Guess where most of them end up? Well, it's right here in Toronto, home to Canada's largest shelter system, which, according to the Ombudsman, provides significantly more service per capita than anywhere else in the region. But instead of solutions, we're seeing a poverty industry thrive, raking in cash while the streets overflow with despair. Unplanned, unmitigated waves of migrants, legal and illegal, are buckling our cities, exposing a cesspool of mismanagement where skyrocketing funds vanish into the pockets of a poverty industry that profits, while Toronto's streets bear the fallout. The city's Housing TO 2020-2030 Action Plan promised change, but the streets, well, they tell a different story. Band-Aid fixes and bloated budgets funded by tax-paying citizens aren't cutting it. Canadians, Ontarians, and especially Torontonians deserve a plan that tackles the root causes: housing affordability, mental health support, and a system that doesn't open the floodgates when we can barely support our own. More money shouldn't mean more misery. It's time to stop throwing cash at a broken system and start building one that works. Toronto deserves better, and Canada deserves better. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. If you appreciate this reporting and would like to support it, please consider chipping in what you can at fixourcities.com. That's the website where we've been blowing the whistle on the chaos, the disorder, and the disarray plaguing Canadian streets. Support our work and find out more at fixourcities.com.